Welcome to Harmonizing Your Horse's Health and our segment on acupuncture. Acupuncture is becoming more and more popular for use in equine athletes and is oftentimes even asked for by clients. Acupuncture can do a lot of things in terms of helping with pain, trauma, and even just regulating normal daily functions for your animals, such as breeding. We have here on our table some of the items that may be used in an acupuncture situation to stimulate those acupuncture points. Acupuncture is roughly somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 years old. It originated in Tibet and China and was systematized by the Chinese in a special handbook written by and for the emperor called the Emperor's Yellow Book. This diagrams all where a lot of the early acupuncture points were found and how they were used. And many of the early acupuncture treatments were used in animals. So with 3,000 or so years worth of testing and trial, it's actually become a fairly documented, well-used application. Sometimes there's not as much scientific Western medicine type research in some of the studies. However, we continue to use it because it works really well. Here we have on the table a couple of things. One is the basis of acupuncture is the acupuncture needle. These needles are solid needles. They now come sterile and individual as opposed to reusable. In ancient times, acupuncturists had to make their own needles and would oftentimes make them of wood or of steel, and sometimes those needles would have to be very, very long. So we have individual one-time use needles that are used in different lengths for different applications. We also oftentimes will use what's known as aqua acupuncture, where we take a needle and a syringe and actually inject a liquid into the acupuncture point to keep the stimulation in that point going for a much longer period of time. Sometimes we use saline, sometimes we use blood of the animal to help stimulate their immune system. We oftentimes will use heat in the form of an herb called moxa. This can be heated and applied close to but not on the animal. It can also be attached to each of the acupuncture needles to heat that point and cause heat in that system. What this does is it stimulates the entire acupuncture meridian. We oftentimes also will use electricity, and that electricity helps to stimulate those acupuncture points and get the qi moving through them. Qi is the energy in the meridian of the animal that we are trying to affect. Sometimes we're trying to stimulate it, and sometimes we are trying to sedate it or quiet it down. But the basic idea is to balance that qi, or harmonize the way the animal is using their energy and the way the animal is using all of the other elements that make it an animal. Its immune system, its lymphatic system, its blood system, its nervous system. All of these are described in Chinese medicine as different types of qi and how they move through that animal. So depending on the problem that the animal is experiencing, the acupuncturist has to determine what the animal needs, what meridians to affect, and then which points to choose. And there are hundreds of acupuncture points on different animals and on each animal that are related to one another or that can be acupunctured to harmonize that system. So a trained acupuncturist usually has a doctoral degree, such as a veterinary degree. They also have been through specialized training for veterinary acupuncture and have passed board exams and have turned in research papers. So these people know what they're doing. Now, what we're going to do is move on to take a look at how this actually works in the animal. Now that we've looked at some of the tools for acupuncture, let's look at how it applies to the horse. When we come to look at the horse for acupuncture, we do a lot of things. We look at their demeanor. We listen to the owner's complaint. We watch the horse to see how it moves or what needs to be done. We check the tongue color, and we check pulses, because as traditional Chinese medicine tells us, all of these outward signs tell us about what's going on deep inside the animal and how the energy is moving through the Meridian system, which includes most of the organ systems as well as some other energy systems. So what we've done here is looked at Coco and assessed that her tongue color is pink. It's pretty normal as far as being not too pale and not too dark. She doesn't have bounding pulses, but she does have some changes in some of her pulse systems that let me know that she needs a little bit of help with some of her kidney and some of her liver qi. So I've gone back and acupunctured a couple of points to help bring those systems up. And you can see here, we've got some needles up here on top, up on her rump. I have a couple in each front foot, a couple on the inside of each leg, and all of those are picked specifically to treat her system as it is right now. We're not treating her for any pathologic problems today. We're just giving her a typical wellness kind of treatment, which is not a bad idea, because oftentimes we neglect our wellness. So rather than do that, we wait for the trauma and the damage and then try to fix it. But with horses who get regular acupuncture treatments for regular maintenance kinds of trouble, regular maintenance everyday kinds of ordeals, we find that they do better, they have fewer ailments, and they have fewer injuries. Oops. So we're going to hook up a couple of electrodes. Just to help her system. And I'm going to place one more acupuncture needle on this hip to help with some things that are going on this side. Oops, sorry, go. Oh, sweetie. And with acupuncture needles, we want to put them deep into the acupuncture point. In horses, acupuncture points can be very far into the tissue. And that one I have gotten down to the chi, so we're not going to go any deeper. And then we're going to hook up our electrodes. We're going to plug her into our electroacupuncture stimulator, and then we're going to turn it on. And what is going to happen is she's going to get a small electrical impulse to these acupuncture needles to stimulate those points to help relax and relieve those symptoms. We'll leave it on for about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the problem. And we may repeat it daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on the problem. Otherwise, this will help with harmonizing her normal health.